Hello everyone, Lawrence here from Unicorn Reviews with the GoPro Hero 5 Session. That is used to be the world's most overpriced action camera in history of action cameras, really, but then it got a price drop and it was better, and then it got another price drop, and now it's actually a really good budget offering. So for only $220 or euros now, you can get the GoPro Hero 5 Session. So let's see how good this camera actually is. So as usual on this channel, we'll start with a physical overview. So as you can see, the Hero 5 Session is this tiny 1 cubic inch action camera, and it's basically all lens from the front side. And this lens is also replaceable. So if you do end up scratching it, it's very easy. Just get a Torx bit and you can replace the front lens instead of buying a new camera. Awesome. On the top, you find the record button, which is also the confirm button. And then there's a tiny little LCD display behind it. On the right side, there's just a GoPro 5 Hero Session whatever logo on it. On the back, a quick instruction manual. Press it once shortly to start video and hold it for 3 seconds to take a picture. There's a tiny little microphone and another button to swap between modes on the rear. The bottom, again, completely empty, and then on the left side, you'll find a little door. Now, opening this door isn't the easiest thing. It's actually quite a stiff little locking mechanism, but behind it you can find a USB 3 Type-C port and the SD card slot. Now, one of the things that I really like about the Hero 5 Session is that it's waterproof out of the box. So this can go 10 meters underwater, no problem. Now, because the Hero 5 Session is so small, there's not like a tripod mount or a GoPro mount available. So you have to use this little thingy. Now, this little cage is basically just a locking mechanism. So all you do is you slide in the GoPro from the front and then you pull the little lever, and now your GoPro is secured in here, and you can easily mount it to a GoPro mount, a tripod mount. If you have a little GoPro to tripod adapter here, you can get it on a suction cup. I'll go over accessories later, but this is a really handy way of mounting it to like a chest cam, for example, and yeah, it becomes a lot more versatile. Of course, it increases the size ever so slightly, but all the buttons are still accessible and the door will still open with the cage on here. So I said I was going to go over accessories, and basically what you get in the box is very limited. You get a flat adhesion mount, so this is just a 3M piece of tape. You can heat it up if you wanted to seriously stick to something, but I find it good enough already. And you also get a curved mount, and that's awesome if you have to mount it to a curved surface like a helmet, for example. That's where the curved mount comes in handy. Of course, there are suction cup mounts, there are these mounts to slide it on like a tripod, all that sort of good stuff. One of my personal favorites is, of course, the chesty. This is a chest mount, so it goes up here and then it has like a first-person view of everything. I find if you mount it to your helmet, everything gets dwarfed even more because of the wide-angle lens, but more about that in a bit. And all of these accessories are a key selling point with GoPro. I find them way easier to buy accessories for than any other action cam out there. Now, because the Session is smaller, you can't use like all of the standard GoPro mounts, but there are often adapters for it, so you can still use it. There are also smaller gimbals available for this thing, so you get super steady footage at a lower price than normal GoPros as well. So about the user experience then. What GoPro does is they focus quite heavily on marketing and on app development with their budget for R&D, where other like cheaper Chinese action cams basically just focus on the hardware. Now, that means that the app is okay. It's quite easy to connect to your GoPro. And there's also a computer app available. Now, GoPro now has GoPro Quick, which is a very limited editing software which will put some automated music on top of your clips, and then you can create like a little highlight reel, for example. I found it super useless. It would hang up all the time. It's just not a very good experience to use, so I ended up not using it. And then there's also GoPro Plus. So it's a 30-day free trial. You get 20% off of mounts, first-party mounts, but again, they're twice the price of like a third-party mount, so no real budget incentive coming from that way. And it's €6 a month for some cloud storage, which you probably already have from Google or from Microsoft or Amazon or whatever. So then actually using the Hero 5 Session, that's where this thing really shines. It's so compact and it's so lightweight that if you mount it to your helmet, you won't really notice it. If you mount it to your chest, you won't notice it at all, unless of course you have a gimbal as well. And that's what sets this thing apart. It's just always near you because it's so small. You can always have it in a pocket, so you always have the camera with you. And this enabled me to shoot some mountain biking videos that otherwise I wouldn't have taken, because my previous camera was heavier, so I would never really have it with me. It was also really odd form factor, so it was never available as a chest cam. With this one, it's always with me when I go for a ride. Even if I go for a boring cross-country training ride, it is with me. Now, setting it up to record, there are a few different modes. You can have it shoot 4K, you can shoot at 2.7K, you can shoot at 1080p, frame rates between 30 and 180 FPS. That's all fine. What I really used to do a lot is I just put it into the 2.7K 4:3 aspect ratio, and that gives me like a more square image, which then later in editing I can stretch out, and then I have some horizontal area to move it to add even more stabilization, or to just, frame the image better. Now, talking about stabilization, unless if you go high frame rates or 4K, this thing actually has electronic stabilization built in. Now, normally electronic image stabilization is pretty horrible, but the Hero 5 Session actually does a really good job of it, and I really like it. It's just good stabilization, really, and I don't use that 4K anyway. Now, because the Hero 5 Session and the other sessions as well don't really have a display, you have to do most of the setup work through the app. So there you can enable ProTune, you can set how you want your white balance, your shutter speeds, ISOs, all that goes through the app. It's not really a big deal, but you have to make sure that you can actually connect to it. Now, the camera, to save battery, is always in some sort of standby mode. So if I were to take my phone right now and try to connect to it, it wouldn't work. I have to press one of the buttons first, and preferably the one at the rear. Now, if it is in standby and you just press the top button, it will start recording after about 5 seconds. Now, something that absolutely kills battery life is turning on the voice activation. I didn't end up ever using voice activation. I think it just makes you look like a bit of an idiot when you're talking to your chest cam instead of just pressing the little button. Especially because there are some very distinctive beeps, so you can clearly hear when you start a recording and when you stop a recording. Now, probably the most important thing with cameras is the image quality. And that's where the Hero 5 Session really shines. It's as good as just a normal Hero 5, the bigger one. So you get excellent image quality. It goes up to ISO 1600, so low light performance is also quite good. It won't get as wallowy and you don't get a lot of ghosting and all that sort of stuff when you shoot in darker situations, because the shutter speed has to go down too much. Instead, you can just lock it to a certain shutter speed and just have the ISO go up. Now, 800 is perfectly fine to use, but 1600 is a little bit noisy, a little bit grainy. So I have mine just limited to 800. And then I just let the shutter speed go from 60 upwards to get constantly sharp images. So there you have it, guys. The GoPro Hero 5 Session at its latest 2018 price point is absolutely a bargain, and you should totally go get one if you do any sort of action sports whatsoever. It's great for cycling, it's great for skiing, snowboarding, skateboarding, everything. You can also just mount it on a tripod and use it as a normal camera, although the super wide angle lens just distorts a little bit too much to really use it for that sort of stuff. But it's just a great buy, and you should just get one, or two, or three. So guys, I know this wasn't like a full-on proper review because it's an exam period for me, so I don't really have a lot of time to shoot these videos. But if you like this one, please hit that like button. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. Hit the subscribe button, the little bell icon, and go check out the Instagram and Twitter, and maybe even the Patreon page if you really want to. For now though, thank you very much for watching, and next week there will be another video.